You're going to get rich. Just relax. So many of us get caught up in the emotional ups and downs of our entire journey of trying to get successful, and we let these small setbacks cause us unnecessary frustration and set us further back on our journey than a tiny little setback needs to. And I want to make this video talking a little bit about the psychology side and the mindset of what allowed me to make the money that I've made. And these concepts aren't specifically trading oriented, but they are overlapping a little bit with the mindset of trading. So the same concept you can apply to trading, I apply to trading, and that has been a big factor of how I've been able to make the money that I've made. So if I can even help any one of you guys with this kind of mindset, that'll be like my goal. I'll be happy for the day. So, because I know a lot of you guys actually go through this, especially on your journey trying to get successful. Main thing I want to talk about is the fact that you need to stop rushing the process. If you have that belief deep inside of you and you know you're going to get successful, you know you're willing to put in the work, keep that going. Keep believing in that dream and that drive that you have, because a lot of the successful people, if you hear what they really have to say, they knew they were going to be successful before it actually happened. They didn't just happen to be successful out of nowhere. They didn't get, some of them, sure, they got lucky, they won the lottery, but majority of the people who are self-made and actually became successful from their own work knew they were going to be successful before it actually happened. They had that belief. And the issue a lot of us have is we get so caught up in these short-term setbacks, and that puts us back a lot further than we need to be set back. And because of this, we either give up, we make mistakes that we shouldn't make, and we cause a lot of emotional frustration that we can completely avoid and still get the same amount of work done, if not more, and do it more effectively, progress even faster. And the reason this always happens to us is because we have a tendency of setting expectations on, sometimes even unrealistic expectations on certain things that we pursue. And when we don't meet up to our expectations, we get very emotional, very angry, very upset at ourselves, and we feel like we're falling behind. We look around, we see everyone else is making it on social media, everyone else is doing their thing, they're making their money, they're coasting by, living a happy life, peaceful life, and we're over here trying to reach our goals, and every single goal that we set, we fall very far behind of it. And the issue with this is you need to start focusing on setting goals based off of your input rather than output. Now, it's okay to set goals based off of output, like making X amount of money with this or X amount of money with that. But when you start to let that be the driving factor of what you do, once you start reaching that expectation, the deadline you set for yourself, and you're nowhere near where you want to be, you start to get frustrated and start to stress yourself out and like contemplate whether taking this path is even for you, because every goal you place is not meant for you. But the reality of the situation, no matter what you pursue in life and what you do, shit is going to go south. Whatever bad is going to happen will happen. And you will most likely not meet your expectations, because we all want things fast. And we really do set unrealistic goals for ourselves. And the one thing that's helped me the most is shifting setting output goals and unrealistic goals. Even sometimes if it's a realistic goal, shifting from focusing on these types of goals to focusing on input goals and the behaviors that I'm engaging in every single day, and the habits that I have every single day. Are these taking me closer to my output goal or not? If whatever I'm engaging in is not getting me closer to that or keeping me the same, I'm going to focus on not doing that behavior, because as a result of not doing that behavior, I'm only left with doing the stuff that are going to get me closer to the goal. So kind of shifting your mindset of focusing more on what you need to be doing day to day, your input, that will, as a result, eventually get to your output. And the good thing about this is that you can't break an input goal and still like be far from and still get close to your output goal. By following your input goals, you're going to get closer to your output goals. But when you focus on the output goal specifically and the amount of money you want to make from this career, and you set this date that you want to achieve it by, and you don't meet up to that, like you don't really have control over that situation, and you get frustrated over something that you have absolutely no control over. Whereas if you set an input goal, something pretty difficult, like, oh, get up every morning 4 a.m., let's say, cold shower, go for a run, come back, do a little bit of journaling, meditation. For example, if you're trading, getting on the charts, analyzing the market with my plan fully written out, the strategy I'm going to trade, having no emotional decision making interrupting my trading, and following my strategy to the T every single day. And then whatever you have to do for the rest of the day, you set all those input goals. If you don't follow that, that's why you're not reaching your output goals, because you break down what inputs you need to have to reach your output. And the moment you stop following your inputs, it's your fault that you didn't reach that output, because you didn't even meet up to your input. And the input is required to get you the output. And it's okay some days that you don't follow your input, things go wrong, emergencies happen, shit just goes south, and you don't follow all of the goals you set for your input goal, and you ended up being like a failure for the day. You felt like a failure for the day. And that's okay. Everyone has those types of days. But if you're consistently having those days, that means you need to switch your mindset and start to focus on building small, little by little, consistent habits. Start to give yourself a routine to do every single day and just follow it. When you go day by day based off of what you feel, based off of the emotions you have and what you really feel like doing in the moment, you're not gonna get the stuff done that you need to get done, because sometimes the stuff you need to get done is not what you feel like doing. And that's actually the case for a lot of the time, especially for me. So my kind of trick to this is every single night, the day before, set a rule, set goals that I want to have done by the next day or for the next day that I want to complete. Like, okay, get this done, do this thing, write this thing, make this video or talk about this thing, do this thing that this person finalizes this, whatever it may be. Set that up at the the current night for the next day, and try to follow that as much as possible before you do anything outside of that list. Okay, like, oh, go to the gym, film this video, trade the chart, following my strategy to the T, reflect on my trades. Make sure you do that as like make that like your first 4 things you need to do for the day, for the next following day, and don't do anything else before you get those 4 done. Allow those 4 things to be like your unlock to do other things in the day that you feel like doing. Maybe like going on your phone or playing video games. It's okay to, like, a lot of people say don't play video games, don't do this, don't go out with your friends, stay home all day until you become a millionaire. I don't think I used to have that mindset. I don't think that's actually healthy. I think as long as you're pursuing something, you have a goal, and you're actively working towards it with discipline and consistency, it's okay to play like an hour or 2 of video games a week, maybe even like 5 hours a week, go out with some friends, catch up with some friends. Like, that's not what's holding you back. What's holding you back is what you're doing outside of those hours. The time where you're home and you think you're being productive when you're actually just on your phone scrolling and avoiding the work that you need to be doing. Because a lot of the time, there's this quote that I heard, the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. The thing that's going to help you get the most successful and get you closer to that goal is that little thing that you're avoiding. The 80% of the things that other things that you do is a bunch of waste of time. That small thing that you're avoiding, that's a little more difficult than the other stuff you have to do. So you put that thing off, you do all the other easy stuff. That thing that you're putting off is the one that's going to build you the most and get you closer to your goal. Focus on that. All right. Throughout your entire journey, it's not going to look like a linear growth move up. We all know this. Our growth is going to be almost compounding, and it's not even going to be like a clear compounding graph. It might be like a start compounding and then retrace, just like a chart, pull back, and then it might start continuing back up and then even faster and then retrace again. So you're going to have a lot of setbacks and a lot of moves up as well towards your goals. The thing is, it's so easy to get caught up in the emotional like turmoil on the lower time frame. I'm talking about trading stuff on the lower time scale. And the best thing to do is to zoom out, think long term. Like I said, the people who were the most successful knew they were going to be successful before they actually got successful. So as long as you maintain that mindset, think long term and think every day, am I actually progressing towards this goal, or am I doing things that are holding me back? Am I becoming a better version of myself than I was yesterday? If yes, great. I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm going to do as much as I can for that. And some days, yeah, I will have setbacks where I'm not better than the person I was yesterday, but I'm going to do my best on average to be better than who I was yesterday. right? Some days I will go out. Some days I'll do this. That's fueling my dopamine. Some days I'll be a little bit lazy. I'll pull out my day off. But realistically, if you're on that pursuit of trying to be great, you have to minimize those days off as much as possible, right? You can't be focusing on having days off. That can't be like your goal to work so you can have days off, right? Your goal is to try to get successful. And then once you get successful, then you can start worrying about days off. Right now, your priority is to get successful and reach the goals that you want to reach, if you really even want to reach to that point. And I also want to share this quote that I wrote down. It's not really a quote. I paraphrased it from some successful person I heard online. And they said one piece of advice that like they would give to people if they had to start all over again, try to get successful, is that they wouldn't do anything differently, except they would do everything the same, except for the fact that they would do it with less anger, less emotion, and less internal suffering. Someone who can get the job done in a more peaceful, happily manner and doesn't have all this emotional turmoil mixed into their body, they're going to get the job done better, more effectively, more efficiently than someone who's constantly like dealing with this internal suffering and getting emotional over the small little setbacks in their journey and dwelling on that. That person is going to be a lot less productive and not get the job done as effectively as the first person. So if you know you're going to be successful, why are you getting so emotional over the tiny little setbacks? You know you're going to get successful. You know what you need to do. There's absolutely no reason to get stirred up in the tiny little setbacks that get caught in your journey, because every successful person has that. You are no different. Every successful person has setbacks before they become successful, and many setbacks. Sometimes that setbacks can take months to years to sometimes even decades, depending on where you're currently at in your journey and how you're progressing. But more so, it's probably going to be in the year period. All right. So as long as you have that belief in yourself, keep believing in yourself, move forward with it, and allow that to be your driving factor. And focus not so much on output. It's okay to have output goals, but don't allow that to be your driving factor. And don't get so frustrated when you don't meet those output goals, like making a set amount of money by this deadline. Because the reality is, you're probably not always going to meet your expectations. Most of the time, you're not going to meet your expectations and the goals you set for yourself. You're going to either they're going to be delayed, or you're going to achieve them later in your life, whether it be like by months or years. That's why it's so important to focus on inputs, because that's something you can control. When you achieve your goals, you can't, because no one can predict what the future holds. You only have today. And the only goals you can set for today are your input goals, which are what you are going to work on today to get you closer to your output. Not just sitting here and focusing on, I want to make $1 million one day, and just constantly like mentally masturbating to the idea of making $1 million a month and watching a bunch of motivational videos. Actually putting in work and setting input goals yourself and acting on them. It helps a lot to write them down. All right. And one thing that kind of helped me ease this entire journey and prevent myself from not getting too caught up in the tiny little setbacks. And don't get me wrong, when I say this, I'm not trying to act like some perfect person who never gets emotional from the little setbacks in my like journey or the little losing streaks I have in my life. I even get caught up in it. Even me saying this, like, this kind of helps me reframe it into my own mind, because as I'm telling it to you guys, I even remember of it. Most of the time I do remember it, but there are times where sometimes things just get bad and I'm not actively like thinking about my mind and my psychology, and I get so caught up in the little things that just mess up in my life, and these little things start to stack up, and it just gets me frustrated. That also impacts my kind of productivity in other areas of my life. So by constantly just every day going about just having a long-term mindset, focusing on what can I do today to get me closer to the goal. And if I can't do anything today because of other shit happening in my life, so be it. But I can't allow that to be my excuse for every single day. I have to find a way to squeeze in little input goals to get me closer to my output. Now, what I was saying was, one thing that's kind of helped me a lot in this entire journey of just not getting so caught up in the emotional little setbacks is just having a belief in God or some higher power or universe, that whatever you believe in, I personally believe in God, and allowing myself to just have trust in him, and that he has the long-term plan all planned out for me, and it's all based off of his journey. And there are some things in my journey that I just can't comprehend and I can't understand, but it's for the better, it's for the best, for me reaching the best version of myself. understanding that those things happen and that situation does occur allows me to just have peace in the process and understand that I'm going to get successful. God has a plan for me to get me to my goals or whatever he thinks is the best for me. And as long as I don't try to take full 100% control of the situation, I'm going to be okay, because I know he has the control in the long run. He has the plan set for me and for everybody else in the end for the better. So having trust in him, praying to him every single night does help me kind of ease the frustration as well, because you start to kind of relieve all that weight from your shoulders and just thinking that you have full control and everything that's happening to you is because of you. Now, that mindset is helpful, because if you start to blame everyone else for the reason of like the situation you're in, that's not a healthy mindset. That's a victimizing mindset. But another quote that I heard was, you want to grind like it's all dependent on you, and pray like it's all dependent on God, and trust like it's all dependent on God. All right. So you're grinding like you're the one who has to put in the work, but you're trusting that God will steer you and navigate you like you're a sailor driving a ship, and the ship is being kind of turned and navigated by God, and you are the one who has to actively row and go in the direction that it's pointing to. If you don't move forward, even if you're pointed in the right direction, you're not going to get anywhere. All right. And one other mindset that's also helped me, this is probably going to be the last mindset trick that I have, which is, you never know if a situation is a good or bad situation until after the fact, until years down the line, you actually exist in the future. You get to look back and see whether the situation was a good or bad situation. Think about the time where you're dealing with probably the worst situation in your life, the most negative time of your life, where you're like literally feeling depressed. Maybe you wanted to like shut everything off, run away from home, like live a completely different life. You'd be happy just like living a completely different life, just swapping lives with anyone else. Think about that time. Wasn't that the time where you learned the most lessons, learned the most or improved the most psychology wise or mindset wise, and made the most kind of character development in your life? It wasn't the times when you're winning and life is coasting by and you're just having fun and constantly winning. That wasn't the time where you learned. The times where you learned when you were at rock bottom and you were feeling hella negative, hella depressed, nothing was going to work for you. Those are the times where you truly learned lessons that actually changed your life. Not when everything was going smooth sailing and you had no obstacles. The times where you feel like you're literally at rock bottom and you're about to break the rocks below you and go even deeper and enter the void, those are the times where you truly learn the most lessons. And honestly, like, I try to reframe my mind into like thinking these rock bottom moments are blessings in disguise, because these allow me to have the mindset that I have today. And without this mindset switch that I had by hitting rock bottom, I wouldn't be this well off and appreciative of my situation and this blessed, because I would be stuck in the poor mindset that I had, where I never learned any sort of lessons and I had no experiences built up just from constantly winning. No one learns anything from winning. You just continue. If you had a life where you're only winning, you would be so miserable, because winning would feel standard, and anything less than winning would feel extremely miserable. Winning on its own would be miserable, and there's nothing more left than winning. So having the good and the bad is what makes the good feel good and the bad feel bad. All right. Without the bad, the good would feel like normal. It would feel miserable, because that would be your everyday feeling. But now we have the bad, we can enjoy the good as well, because we know the good isn't here forever, and we also know the bad isn't here forever. So again, this kind of goes into the thing of just zoom out and focus on having a long-term mindset. All right. So that kind of wraps up the mindset video I have for you guys today. Hopefully it helps you guys out, kind of reframe how your approach is to life and becoming successful, and whatever journey you're pursuing, whether that be trading like me or any other business, any other kind of skill you're trying to learn. Focus on having a long-term mindset to it, and stop trying to rush the process, and stop comparing yourself to everyone else's journey. Focus on comparing yourself to who you were yesterday or last week or last month. Have you improved? Have you improved your input goals? Have you improved your mindset and the way you approach your work? Are you still very focused on your outputs? All right. These kind of like mini reflections and asking yourself these questions are going to help you out a lot to dive deeper in your specific mistakes and flaws that are being your biggest constraints and stopping you from being the most successful version of yourself. All right. So if it's helpful, make a list of these questions like that you should ask yourself every single night before you go to bed, so you can reflect and see how you did on the day. And over time, you'll have a collection of a bunch of reflections, and you can see how have you progressed over the past month or years. And you can really notice and quantify, like, how has my progression been? I try to do this. I personally slack off on this. I want to kind of incorporate this into my life more. So it kind of helps me build on the other things that I'm pursuing. But just reflecting on yourself and overall asking questions on, am I improving myself? Am I doing the things I say I'm going to do? Am I following my input goals I set for myself? Am I constantly appreciating life in the current situation that I'm in? Am I focusing on my inputs and not getting so whipsawed by the back and forth emotional setbacks in my journey? And it's okay if I am. Again, there's nothing wrong with getting like emotional over the setbacks. It's just a matter of what are you going to do and how are you going to improve from this so you make sure you don't make the same mistake again. All right? So one other thing, actually, before I wrap it up, be in the present, right? I'm always saying, like, think long term, but also be in the present. Always be like, don't get so caught up in your thoughts and what you're thinking, because it's easy to make problems a lot more significant in our mind than it actually really is. A lot of the problems that you deal with are bigger in your mind than what reality makes it to be. So don't get caught up in your thoughts. Think in the present moment and have a long-term outlook on your goals. But today, focus on what you can do today. You don't have tomorrow. You don't have yesterday. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here yet. You only have the present. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. So take it as a blessing. Do today what you need to do to get you closer to this future you want to have. And don't be so focused on the output. Focus on input and making the most out of today. All right? Stay blessed. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully, I'll gain a lot of value from this. If you guys want to trade with me live in the Discord, you can go join. The link is in the description. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.